respected hosts, honored guests. Usually when the last session starts, the speakers in the graveyard shift have one major disadvantage. Most of the people have kind of switched off, and they keep hoping that the last presentations at least should not be extremely verbose and should not be extremely boring, so that they can somehow with great difficulty manage to keep their eyes and ears open. I will try to make it as viewer friendly as possible. It does threaten to be a largish presentation, but it will go through very quickly, I can assure you. When we are talking about smart cities, I would like to basically talk about the renewal aspect of smart energy, because that is the real smart energy. When we've had conventional energy across the globe and in this country, and now is the generation, now is the time when smart energy has to find its place in the sun, as it were. What I'll try to tell you is about a dream that we succeeded in fulfilling in the last couple of years, which has led us to dream again in a different way and use the result of the first dream to fulfill the second one. And that's development of renewable energy in the state, find our position in the nation, and now use renewable energy for our smart cities. About 3-4 years back, when renewable energy was almost at a zero level in the state, there was a meeting in the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. And at that time, there was this huge ad by Shri Narendra Modi ji about the successful inauguration of the Charanka Solar Park. And there were these full-page ads, and it just went viral across the country. And everybody thought that this is something really fantastic and we should do something about it. So in one of these review meetings, the Chief Minister asked us very innocently, "Hamare Pradesh mein hum is tarah se kuch nahi kar sakte?" At that time, Madhya Pradesh was zero in renewable energy, 3 years back. 2012 is what I'm talking about. So we told him, "Sir, as on today, Madhya Pradesh has an installed capacity of 2 megawatts in solar. You give us 3 years, and in 3 years we will convert 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts, and we'll become 3 times Gujarat, which is the leader." Then in wind, we told him that today we are at 300 megawatts, and we'll become 10 times that in 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to tell you that we have far surpassed the promise that we made to the Chief Minister in solar. Instead of 3,000 megawatts, we have registrations of almost 10,000 megawatts in wind. We have for the last couple of years been the #1 state in installation and commissioning of solar projects. We have the largest solar project in the country. We have set in motion the installation of the largest solar project in the world. So this is the little story that I'm going to tell you today. This is something that you know, the locational advantage of Madhya Pradesh. The reason why I'm stating the obvious is because of the logistical position of the state and the fact that the state is positioned in such a place where the solar map overlaps onto almost the whole of the state of Madhya Pradesh. So it's not true that you can set up solar units anywhere. There has to be an adequate amount of irradiation, there has to be land which is barren, there has to be other advantages, which is something which the state of Madhya Pradesh has. So now, when we talk about smart energy for our cities, what is it that we really want? Number one, we want a 24/7 energy supply. The 24/7 energy supply has to be quality energy supply. What is a quality energy supply? You must have at least 98% stability in your energy supply. You cannot have fluctuations. You cannot have things which, knock off all your IT systems. And then you must have reliable energy which is sustainable in nature. We must have energy with zero carbon emission. What's the point having the carbon spewing, the smoke spewing kind of the earlier conventional power, this thing? And therefore, the answer is that energy must come from renewable sources in not too distant a future. So what is it that enabled the renewable energy story in Madhya Pradesh? This basically was entirely based on the enabling provisions that we made in our policies. We first of all started off in order to fulfill this promise that we made to the Chief Minister and to the state, that we must start off by having our policies in place. And like I had a discussion with another state where he said, we make policies on the basis of what is the intent of the government. We do not bother about procedures. That is a matter of detail. So we told him, boss, that's not the matter of the detail. That is the main matter. How to implement a particular policy is what the investor is interested in. You cannot just say that we want this, that and the other and not make life easy, the business easy for the person to invest. So we pulled into our policies everything that an industrialist would want and everything that an investor would want in implementing a particular policy. And for that, as different from other policy documents, this policy document was done with discussion with stakeholders across the entire industry. We first prepared a draft, we gave it to the industry, and then we got feedback from them. We revised the draft, and then we called in the industry and we said that, all right, here is the draft policy. Now you tell us, what is it that irritates you about government policies, about procedural problems? And we worked all that into our policy to ensure that there are no procedural hassles that people feel, and then there is a general ease of comfort of doing business in Madhya Pradesh. When we launched these various policies of renewable energy, solar, wind, mini hydel, biomass, etc., we also decided that if somebody wants to invest in Madhya Pradesh, he must know where the potential is. Like if somebody wants to come from Tamil Nadu, somebody wants to come from Atlanta, somebody wants to come from Mongolia and invest in Madhya Pradesh, he must know what the potential is and where the potential is. We cannot expect him to go around, roaming around, looking for data everywhere. So what we did was that we carried out studies and put all the information on the website. The Renewable Energy Department of Madhya Pradesh is one of the only departments which operates entirely from its website. Application, 2 clearances, 2 deposition of money, 2 sanctions, etc., etc. So this is the kind of potential that we had. About 19,000 megawatts was the potential in Madhya Pradesh, but we only had 300 megawatts 3 years down the road, 3 years back. We have a potential of more than 8,000 megawatts of solar and small change in small hydro and biomass of about 2.5 gigawatts. So the benefits that we worked into our policy to ensure this, we said that anything anybody offers, we will offer that and more. No electricity duty for 10 years, no electricity cess for 10 years, wheeling charges reduced from 6% to 2%, third party sale permitted, sale outside the state permitted, no VAT, no entry tax, benefit of industry status, stamp duty exemption on private land purchase, 100% banking, reduction in contract demand, 100% CDM benefits. This and more. Ease in selection of land. The data of the land was put on the website, you choose the land, and we prepared a bankable document with discussion with bankers as to how can this be, how can your bankable document work along with the government system of not giving land on lease, but giving on a right to use. So we gave them, we made provisions by giving them a substitution agreement in the document, which made it bankable. So government land was available for 25 years for renewable energy projects in our policy itself. And the allocation of the project was done on an RFP based application. There was a transparent system. We would float an RFP, get the demands, and the application on formats. All documents that are required for application were put on the website. It's complete transparency, complete clarity, and you apply online. And the only thing that we did, we said that government land will be given to you on the maximum free electricity that you can give. That was a transparent method as desired by the Supreme Court in allocation of government land. So this is what was the story like. In the year on 1st April 2012, if you see that almost non-existent little bar, that is solar, 2 megawatts. Wind was at 300 megawatts. And the total capacity in Madhya Pradesh, 438 megawatts. It went up by 344% in the first year. Went up to 1509 megawatts. Solar started picking up from 2 megawatts to 456. Then it went up to, by 2015, it went up to 1716 megawatts. By 31st March 2016, we expect this to go up to 3733 megawatts, which is 852% growth since we started this game. And by 2017, we expect it to go up to beyond 5,247 megawatts. It will fulfill all the promises that we had made to the Chief Minister that day and counting. At the moment, there are 279 projects under implementation, highest in any state in the country. 7,678 megawatts of projects are under implementation even as we speak today. And this has already placed us at the fastest growing state, and in not too distant a future, in overall capacity, it will make Madhya Pradesh the biggest state in all renewable energy in the country. A brief word about solar. This, I had mentioned that because of the immense solar energy potential, Madhya Pradesh's location, if you look at that map, the dark red and the yellow are the places where solar projects can come up. So the entire state is covered by this, by the potential that's required, and the state entirely is available for solar projects. Just a couple of shots of our solar projects. These are our old ones, 5.25 megawatts at Rajgarh in 2012. Then some other projects, one 3 megawatt, one 12 megawatt project again in Rajgarh and one in Badod. There are two projects, one in Shahjahanpur. As a matter of fact, both in Shahjahanpur, one 25 megawatts and one 15 megawatts. This is a 20 megawatt commission project in 2017 in Dhar district. And this is the big one, the largest solar project in India. And the total capacity is 151 megawatt DC. This was dedicated in February 2014, and if you look at the top left-hand corner, this was completed 8 months before schedule. That shows the success of the policy that we had put together. And also, while we are about it, the third largest project in the country. There's a little interesting story about this. I had gone for one of these presentations. I was speaker number 2, and there was a gentleman who was speaker number 3. Now the person who was speaker number 3 had come completely prepared to talk about the country's largest project. Now that happened to be 5 megawatts less than Madhya Pradesh. Now unfortunately for him, I spoke just before him, and the moment I said 130 megawatts AC and 151 megawatt DC, his face fell, his presentation collapsed, and he sort of said that, we are not the country's largest, we're the country's second largest. He quickly made changes in his thing. So that was number 2, this is number 3. And now we have started work on the largest project in the world, 750 megawatts. When you talk about the largest in the world, the largest at the moment is in California. The 550 megawatt project in California is the largest. When you talk about large, humongous projects, it's the done thing to think that either China will have it, or the USA will have it, or somebody will have it. So when California came up with the world's largest project, everybody felt that, USA hai, California mein nahi hoga to aur kahan hoga. But the real achievement is that when Rewa in Madhya Pradesh will have the largest in the world. And so all the land, all the due diligence, all the survey work and the background work has been done. In the near future, we will have this, and so that will be another feather in the cap of the state. And now, from the large to the small, solar energy for our cities. Basically, after having done whatever we have done in grid-connected large projects, now we have to get on to off-grid individual units, especially for our large cities. And if you're going to have a smart city, we must have solar energy which is available in the roofs and exposed wall of these buildings, and also the empty land which is there to generate solar power. Basically, to have solar in our rooftops, in our buildings, the institutional arrangement is that you will have about 15% capital subsidy on any investment that you make, and the government of India has declared that institutional loan will be on equivalent terms as housing loans for solar projects in individual households and rooftops. To give you an example, the SBI home loan is at 9.70%. That's the loan at which, that's the rate of interest at which you will get in case you decide to put up a solar unit in your house. Now, what happens when you decide to put up a solar this thing? Most people who put up large units in their houses and all that, they always ask one question. Suppose I have a little bit of extra electricity. What do I do with it? Can I exchange it by putting it in the grid, get some money for it? So the state government has come up with a net metering policy, is that whatever excess solar power that you generate, you can feed it into the grid. You don't need to store it, and the net of what you consume is something that you will be charged for. So you have an export meter and an import meter. So whatever you don't need, you export it into the grid, and then it comes back. Whatever you get back from the grid, the net of that is what you are charged for. Other incentives that are there for in the net metering policy of the state is that this is not going to be treated as construction. For instance, if you put up a solar unit, Mr. Tejaswi Naik is not going to come and charge you property tax for it. Your house will have property tax, but remember, do not. So he shall not charge you property tax for it, so it's not taken as construction. You will not have the labor department, for instance, charging you one of those funny charges that they do for construction which is done and so on. There is complete exemption from electricity duty and cess, exemption from VAT and entry tax. The banking that will be done on your behalf by the grid is without any charges, and there will be no cross-subsidy charges which are there for industry, for instance. Industry is cross-subsidized so that farmers get it at a cheap rate. This will not have any cross-subsidy charges. To give you a simple mathematics, how much does it cost you? 1 unit of electricity today costs you 570, 14% electricity duty, 1% cess. The total cost, if you are a consumer of more than 300 units, which is the average consumption, at least the minimum consumption that a person living in a smart city will have, it will cost you about 6.50 per unit. Now, once you have a solar rooftop at an average cost of about 70,000 rupees per kilowatt and subsidy of 15% and self-contribution of 20%, you will have an EMI of 684 rupees for a 9-year loan. Now, if you look at the cost of producing that electricity, you would realize that the energy charges that you will save if you put up a solar unit is going to be 695 rupees, and your EMI is 684 rupees. So basically, in short, your loan is going to become free in 9 years for a unit that will work for 25 years. Now with each day, the cost of installation is coming down. It was about 100,000 2 years back, it's 70,000 today, and if all goes well, it will come down to about 45 to 50,000 in the not too distant future. Government of India is considering reducing the rate of interest for renewable energy. So if all that is factored in, I dare say that in not too distant future, you would be able to get back your investment in less than 5 years. And then your project will last for 5 times that, that's for 25 years. Apart from individual households, in a smart city, you could have integrated colonies, integrated housing complexes, where a solar rooftop can become a good solution to be used for that. For this, you create small little microgrids, and these microgrids, that with the generation, it can be optimized through the integrated grid, and the balancing of power. All of you produce a certain amount. You may not, for instance, consume in equal measure, or there could be, a dip in the supply that's coming in from the main grid. So whatever balancing, etc. Once you have, let's say, 100 households or 200 households, then the balancing can be done very smartly. You can have storage devices, and there can be an integrated system whereby not only will you have smart electricity flowing continuously, but you will also be saving a bit of money. There are certain challenges for the grid. In a solar rooftop, there will be daily and monthly variations. For instance, you will have a little more power produced during the daytime, it will not be there in the evenings. In certain months, the production will be a little less. And so this has to be supported with some kind of a smart grid, and that technology is available, that's being increasingly used. And once you balance the production and the need that you have, then you can have a smart grid, which will be the smart thing to do in a smart city. Apart from electricity, power for the power's sake, solar water heating is something which has now started getting institutionalized across the country. Now, an average solar water heating system takes about 2 to 2.5 years to repay back your investment. So, apart from the fact that it actually feels rather nice on your body, the solar water that's heated through solar systems, it is also something which is economically very sensible, with a payback period of 2 to 2.5 years or maximum 3 years. Now, this can be used not only for your household use, it can also be used through solar concentrated heating systems for people using furnaces, for people using bakeries and all kinds of things which require heat. So solar water heating is something that has to become institutionalized in a smart city. Many of our smart cities in Madhya Pradesh are located on the western part of Madhya Pradesh. Now this is the wind map, which shows that the western part of Madhya Pradesh has a huge wind potential. The 10,000 megawatts that I talked about, a large number of those projects are coming up on the western side of Madhya Pradesh. Now, over there in the smart cities, we have a potential of wind in our state of 19.6 gigawatts that I had mentioned. What we can do is that we can use smaller wind units of 200, 300, 400 kilowatts and use them in conjunction with solar in the smart cities to produce extremely cheap electricity and extremely clean and smart electricity. Similarly, because of our agricultural growth and the availability of a huge amount of biomass, electricity generation from waste can also be a potential for the state. I had a couple of slides to show you the potential of the state, but I don't want to bring it in here. That's something where the state can produce a lot of electricity which is eco-friendly, and that can be integrated with solar and wind to be able to light up our smart cities. Similarly, small hydro units will be able to provide electricity of the renewable energy nature to our smart cities. Apart from these 3 or 4 verticals producing electricity for the smart cities, we can have in our renewable cities, we can have charging stations for eco-friendly vehicles, charging stations for mobiles, and microgrid based solar street lights. We actually have had planned that Gwalior city is going to be entirely solar. You know, there would be a 50-60 megawatt project which will push in the juice into Gwalior city, have all the street lights with solar, have as many households as possible with solar lights and solar water heating systems. So our smart cities can have a dedicated solar project, maybe located 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers away, which pushes in its entire solar power into the smart city to be used in the solar cities. And we can have, like I mentioned, microgrids also within the smart city to be able to use renewable energy solutions for these cities. Our aim basically should be that we should have at least 10% of the power consumption in our smart cities through renewable energy. And therefore, it's absolutely important that now that we are at the drawing board stage, planning for our smart cities, we must ensure the maximum use of sustainable renewable energy in our cities. And finally, just a little slide to repeat what I said at the beginning. In April 2012, the share of solar in the state energy pool was 0.02%, almost zero. The entire blue is all conventional. And by March 17, the solar contribution is going to be 11.76% in the entire state. So if the state is going to have 11.17% of solar contributing to the energy pool, our smart city should have at least 25%. And if you look at the overall renewable energy share, it used to be 4% in 2012, and by 2017 it's going to be 27%. So by 2017, if all renewable energy in our state is going to be more than 1/4, we really should be working for at least that level, if not more, in our smart cities to make them really clean, eco-friendly, and really smart. So just one statement before I wind up. We have demonstrated our capacity to upscale the renewable energy potential of the state, and now it's time to demonstrate to the nation our capability to use renewable energy in our smart cities. Thank you.